This has to be the craziest price prediction of all time. A Bitcoin options trader has now predicted the Bitcoin price down to the exact hourly candle at the daily close. And he did all of this 6 months ago. He has put his own money into it and is already massively in the black with several million US dollars. And this prediction is now getting steeper because this options trader has now also made the next prediction about where Bitcoin could go next. And the probability that this was a coincidence is lower than being struck by lightning. So it's almost impossible that this was just a coincidence. And if his next prediction, which is part of this initial accurate forecast, turns out to be true, then you might as well start pre-ordering that Lumbo. No financial advice. And I'll be honest with you, things are getting really wild, mysterious, and very, very strange. So if you're not into all the mumbo-jumbo, it's best to just switch off right now. And now there's some really wild speculation about where this trader is getting insider information or where he's pulling these predictions from. Today is going to get really wild, but also mysterious. And you can really blow your mind with this. Here on the 5th November, the legendary options trader Josh Mandel predicted that the Bitcoin price would be on March 14th, US dollars. And that was last November, just to note. So it's been almost half a year. Today, Bitcoin has reached its target. His highest Bitcoin price prediction for this cycle is at dollars. You can also see that in the screenshot here. Here's the daily close. So exactly here it was predicted, and that was already half a year ago. And to be accurate here, we're talking about the 14th March. For this date, the prediction was made. Then there was this know-it-all who said, no, the daily close was actually dollars. So it seems he mistyped or miscalculated by about $20 according to some sources. But we'll also get into how he might have figured that out. Because it seems he either had insider information, some sort of psychic abilities, or it was just pure luck. So we're going to take a look at that in a second. And especially, he's even more exciting about what he predicts next, like where the Bitcoin price is headed. But first, check out this clip of Fred Krueger, who's discussing the whole incident with an expert, because this is really blowing up and people are wondering, how is this even possible? How can something like this happen?
So you're talking before, the Josh Mandel epic call of 84,000. That was kind of
amazing.
Unbelievable. I mean,
he really was all over that call too. It wasn't like he made 10 calls on that one. It's the one he talked about. He was, it's going to happen.
It's not like he just threw a number out there. I mean, he talked about the number before the election. He put that out. He put it out there, and you got to remember, a lot's happened since the election. I mean, it ran up very quickly after the election, went to like 107, 109, something like that. He never let go of the conviction. In fact, he traded it down, knowing it was going to come down to 84, and he put his money where his mouth is. So, it's amazing. I would go back and forth with him a little bit on X, and I think his experimental plan was to start with the 2.1 million in September of last year and see how high he could get it. Now he's sitting at 23 million. I think he's going to hit 100 million by the end of the year, because
here it's also summarized again. He only made one single prediction, so it's not like he made 20 predictions and one of them happened or anything like that. It happens every now and then that some fund manager simply makes 50 predictions and one of them comes true, and then you say, yes, okay, hey, he's the top checker here now and so on, and he's got it figured out or something. No, he only made one prediction and he traded the whole thing with his own money. He did all of this before the elections in the US and then went from 2.1 million to $23 million. And according to the discussion with Fred Krueger and the expert, they estimate that it's going to shoot up to 100 million soon. And now it's getting really mysterious because he's also posting quite a bit on Twitter, like Josh Mandel. And now he's put out a statement regarding his trade, explaining the background and all that. Let me read this to you, and it's about to get really, really interesting. He says here, okay, let's go. I've been a bit vague so far and tried to make my latest predictions seem like they could be explained by some system or market insight. That's not true. The truth is, I have a very specific prediction that's based on a memory of something that happened 30 years ago, combined with thoughts that keep popping into my head. If Bitcoin on 14 March closes at that dollar amount, it's going to sweep everything away. I'm not sure what that means. I have a few thoughts on that, but it's pointless to talk about it unless it actually closes today at that dollar amount, and it's already done that. The truth is, I'm increasingly convinced that this is exactly what will happen, and the impossible chance of it happening means I'll have some explaining to do. If that happens, I'll probably take the rest of the month off and reach out to my family to let them know what I'm planning to reveal. Believe me, I hope I'm wrong, because some people are definitely going to think I'm crazy if they're not believers, or heretical if they are religious. So he's making a huge mystery out of this. He says he can't say exactly how he did it or what it's all about, but there are no analyses or anything like that. It has to be something mysterious, some kind of intuitive gift or something. There have been various speculations that this has something to do with quantum entanglement and whatever. There are entire threads you can go through where different solutions are being sought for this prediction. By the way, you can also see it here. The odds are lower than getting struck by lightning. Here, the odds of predicting the price within $50 after 170 days, given typical volatility, is 0.000017%. So it's very, very unlikely that it was all just a coincidence. And the most important thing he said here is what you see highlighted in yellow. He said here, if 84 is on the dot, the car will launch. A real whole shot. And that means as soon as Bitcoin rises to US dollars, the rocket is going to take off. He says that at the cycle top, Bitcoin will reach US dollars. He doesn't give an exact date, but that's the prediction he's making. As soon as it hits $84, Bitcoin is going to break out ridiculously high. And just to reiterate, he didn't say this a day or two ago, or even just now. He actually said this 6 months ago. And the first part of the prediction is now true. Have been reached exactly on the date that was predicted, right on the daily close. And now here comes the next part of the prediction that's still open, which is that Bitcoin is going to start rising and break out. And the exciting thing is that he seems to have some kind of supernatural powers. I mean, I don't know if that's really the case, but that's how you can read it from his tweets. And he says he needs to retreat for a bit, and then he's going to reveal something really, really big because he seems to have some kind of access to memories or something like that. Well, I mean, there are always people who have memories of past lives or who manage to break out of this time-space nonsense. I mean, it's pretty obvious that space and time are just an illusion and that our universe doesn't actually function in a linear way. It's just that in the physical realm we experience, there's something like space and time. And someone who has maybe meditated or done some LSD trips or something like that, I mean, I'm not a fan of it, I've never done it, will quickly realize that the body and the physical realm are just a level of experience in a much, much larger field of consciousness where we are all one. And most people have a very limited perception. They're just focused on the physical world. But there's still so much more. And like I said, if you don't believe it or anything, then take some time, go into the forest, go meditate or talk to people who have had a near-death experience, or, for all I care, take some pills. That said, I wouldn't recommend doing that because, I mean, I'm not a fan of any drugs or anything like that. I've never done it myself. And I should also mention, I don't know if these are really supernatural abilities or anything like that, but there was a really, really interesting theory, and I'll show you that. There were entire threads here. So check this out. Here, people have indeed written entire threads, like, wow, with dozens, well, not hundreds, but around 20 tweets and so on, trying to decode this through quantum physics. They then provided sources from Joe Rogan and so on, where various physicists were involved. Here's neuroscientist Julia Mosbridge, who talked about effects like quantum entanglement and how it might be possible for us to perceive information from another field, which then plays out in our physical reality later on. I mean, it's totally crazy, and feel free to call this video a swirl video or whatever. Yeah, we're totally in the swirl zone now, no problem at all. We're just gonna swirl around a bit here. I'm not saying that what was explained in the last 5 minutes or in the whole video has to be correct or anything like that. Could be complete bullshit. If that's the case, okay, then just turn it off. But I saw a second really exciting explanation here, and it was also presented in this thread. And I'm gonna let this play out for you now. And here we have John Stanny, who was interviewed by Eric Vargo, and he's definitely a physicist or at least a scientist from what it looks like. And he's talking about the phenomenon of precognition. Precognition, precognitive retrocausality. So the idea is that things don't necessarily move forward in a linear way, but in quantum physics, there's this effect called retrocausality. This means that things in the future can influence things from the past. And from that, it's inferred in the thread how Mandel, who made this prediction, might have gotten access to that information. But check this out, it's really, really interesting.
There's this method called weak measurement, which is if you like weakly measure a bunch of particles, you can kind of like measure them without affecting them. Okay. Basically what they did was they took a laser beam, all right, and they put it through a beam splitter. So you have the same beam, but then it's split into two. All right. Now then what they did was they weakly measured the photons in both beams. All right. And then they subjected one of the beams to a strong measurement, if you want to put it that way. And what they discovered was that back in time when they were weakly measured, the photons that got the later strong measurement had been amplified significantly. So that later measurement amplified the photons in their past. I see the look on your face, but it's the exact look, on your face when you learned about Daryl Bem's experiments. I mean, you like, what the fuck? But it means that causes that events in the future at time point B somehow affect things at time point A in the past.
So I can't explain this to you 100% accurately because that would totally blow up the video. Just to explain this excerpt accurately, you'd probably need about 30 minutes or so. But this is about the double slit experiment. You can Google it too, it's really interesting, where in this case you simply send photons onto a slit like that, and if you put a camera there, then something changes in the measurement result. That means the measurement is influenced by the observer. And here it's simply claimed that these strong measurements that happened when there's an active observer could somehow be altered retroactively. So in the future, a measurement would be made, and that measurement influenced the past. And in quantum physics, there are many such very, very dubious and crazy phenomena, like quantum entanglement or the existence of certain things. But as soon as you realize they're there, they disappear. It's similar to a flow state, which is always there, but as soon as you realize that you are in the flow is gone again, and so on. There are just some phenomena that are really, really hard to describe scientifically, and he also mentions that he has some memories that were probably accessible from a different state of consciousness or something like that. I don't know, it's pure speculation. According to the explanation, it should have been possible for him to access this prediction through retrocausality, and apparently he has several memories that aren't from the past but from the future. So, it's totally weird. I don't know, don't ask me, I have no idea, to be honest. I can't predict the Bitcoin prices that accurately. Anyway, he managed to do it. Now there's speculation. It could also be that this explanation attempt is complete bullshit. As I said, don't take this video too seriously, but please let me know what you think in the comments. Maybe you have some kind of explanation or something. To be honest, I have to say that I'm also at the edge of my ability to explain this stuff and so on. Sure, I'm aware that there are supernatural abilities, that there's much, much more like space and time. This isn't something I derive theoretically. It's something I can confirm directly from my own experience. I'd say we'll keep an eye on it, and if at the end of the cycle really does close as a daily candle, then he would have made the biggest call of all time. Maybe it was just a coincidence, we don't know. If you still want to buy Bitcoin, I'll give you a link below to 21 Bitcoin tips on how you can easily and safely buy simple Bitcoin. With the code BitcoinHotel, you can still get up to 20% off the fees when buying Bitcoin. I'm speechless. I have nothing more to add. See you, take care, peace out.